When I was 16, I got my first job at a library, and naturally, my reading consumption went way up during that time. I was reading 3 or 4 books at the same time, and unfortunately, it resulted in all the books blurring together in my memory. And even worse, I can't remember the names of any of the books. I've spent so much time Googling and trying to figure out the name of this book that I'm thinking about, but I don't think I found the exact one I read back in the day. I even went back to the library I worked at this weekend and I looked at every single sci fi and mystery book, and I had no luck. I couldn't find it. The closest thing I could find online was this book written by Larry Niven called The Jigsaw Man. It's very close to what I remember, but the endings don't match up, so it may not be the one, or maybe my memory's wrong. Either way, I'm going to give spoilers for this book that I have no idea what the name is, so just a heads up. In this book, due to advances in medical technology, organ transplants have become as common and easy to perform as liposuction. As a result, the demand for organs and body parts far outpaces the supply, and so they turn to the prisons to help keep up with the demand. Prisoners are used as a source of organs and body parts for the general population. They were told that their involuntary sacrifice was serving a higher purpose. It was to benefit those who needed it more than they did. In the book, the main character arrives at the prison, and everyone is missing something, a limb, their eyeballs, and you never know when the guard is going to come in and take somebody away and remove something from them. And even worse, it could be you that they take away. And so he decides he's going to escape the prison. That's the general concept of the book I was thinking about. But at the end of the book I read in high school, he escapes the prison and he has to swim through a moat. When he dives in, he is horrified to realize that the whole moat is filled with body parts and organs, and that the whole place was a lie. In reality, they weren't giving body parts to people who needed it more. They were dismembering people purely out of sadistic impulse. And also in the book, he believes that the prison population is being drugged with sedatives to avoid any uprisings in the prison. That fact, along with the ending, is what makes me think that the Larry Niven book isn't the one I read back in high school. But either way, I thought it was so similar to the situation that we find ourselves in politically. We're force-fed this narrative that we must put up with certain injustices and major inconveniences in order for society to keep progressing. Let's just think about blacks for a second. Blacks are a net drag on the economy. They take more out of the system than they contribute, versus white people who, over their whole life, contribute more than they take. Good little working and tax-paying citizens have paid $13 trillion into the welfare state, aimed at lifting blacks out of poverty. And yet, it's hard to say that with a straight face, isn't it? Because we're on the 4th or 5th generation of blacks who are completely dependent on the government for their existence. But this enormous sacrifice was not good enough. And so progressive liberals, that is to say mainly women and Jews, have fought to incorporate wokeness to the levels we now see. Social justice sought to collectively punish whites for their original sin, doing so in order to bring about salvation. But much like the biblical face-off between the prophets of Baal and Elijah, their gods have no actual power. They've had all the time they need to have their God rain down fire and consume the sacrifice at the altar, and yet we haven't seen it happen because their ideas are powerless. The goals they are intending to achieve are impossible with the methods they propose and instead can only act as a weapon against us. You have to realize this. All the intended measures to help black people attain success have not only failed blacks, but they actively harm whites. This principle can be applied to every liberal cause writ large. Immigration, DEI, feminism, these are all designed to disempower white people and strengthen minorities, except it can't strengthen them, but it can hurt us. In Springfield, Ohio, they imported 20,000 Haitians into a town of 60,000. Are we to believe that there's really enough work for these Haitians to do to support 20,000 new people? Of course not. It's not designed to strengthen them or help Springfield's economy. It's designed to hurt us and enrich the greedy and evil people who facilitate all of it. But we're told this noble lie about everything. Jon Stewart said this about the subway in Moscow.
Right. Because the difference between our urinal-caked, chaotic subways and your candelabraed, beautiful subways is the literal price of freedom.
Let's say it a different way. The difference between our disfigured and mutilated body and your perfect and athletic body is the literal price we have to pay in order to have a fully functioning body. Think about how retarded that sounds, and yet that is exactly what he's saying. We're told you have to sacrifice for the greater good, except that there is no greater good. We're told that there can be no freedom or democracy or liberty without the need for your society to collapse. Otherwise, you could get a dictatorship. I mean, at least we're not speaking German right now. We're told this same lie about Ukraine and possible food shortages, when the war broke out, and higher energy prices. But this is the price that we have to pay to hold the moral high ground over Russia. Every leftist policy is a proposal to cut off our own arm in order to have better functioning of that arm. That's the delusion. It's that we were told that diversity is our strength, and we went about making it the top priority. But now we're out in the moat and we're finding out it's all a lie. Nothing works, everything's broken, white people are out of power, and it all sucks. We have to give our organs away for a higher purpose, but when you get out into the moat, it turns out there's no higher purpose. It was done sadistically and out of hatred for you. FEMA has no money for the people affected by Hurricane Helene because it spent $640 million on helping illegal immigrants instead. Do you get it now? It blew its entire disaster relief fund on helping the Democrats replace you. Politics is now a matter of whether you have been out into the moat or not, whether you've been outside of Plato's cave or not, whether you're the type of person who is stupid enough to repeat the narrative or not, someone who knows better or not. It literally has never been easier to go out into the moat and see the system for what it is. You could just walk right to it. There really is no valid excuses anymore. And if you keep repeating the old narratives, it's going to make you look like a fool. Because if you took one step into the moat, you'd know how stupid you sound. Unfortunately, I still know so many people who are stuck in a cell with the door wide open who refuse to go look at the moat because their identity is wrapped up in whatever cell they ended up in a long time ago. And looking at the moat would ruin that. The list of excuses is long. Oh, I can't acknowledge the moat. That would be anti-Semitic. Actually, you see, the moat is our greatest ally. It would be racist to look at the moat. It would be fascist to look at the moat. On and on the taboo name-calling goes. But we know the truth about the moat, and we owe it to ourselves and others to keep shouting that truth from the rooftops, come what may. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video and type of content I'm making, consider giving this video a like or subscribing. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.